it's not often that we on this show try to understand the political workings of Baltimore City. I mean, that's an operation in its own making. Yet once again, a story happens that forces us to take notice, and this is a relevant story about about our political system and justice. This week, former state's attorney for Baltimore City, Marilyn Mosby, was found guilty of mortgage fraud. Maricé, Marilyn Mosby, and her husband, Baltimore City Council President, were considered Baltimore royalty when she won election as Maryland State's Attorney for Baltimore City. What happened here?
So many things to say, Casey. First, they are both friends of mine. Marilyn and I were actually elected the same year. We kind of went up the similar kind of legal cohorts of rising women in the Democratic Party. And then Nick Mosby was actually my seatmate. Both, zealous defenders of the city, grew up in the city, and I know that their hearts were always in the right place. Without a doubt, there were, bad decisions made. At the same time, though, Marilyn Mosby had a target on her back from the day that she was elected. And what I say about what I mean about that is that she had the conservative media completely on her back 365 days a year, to the point where she needed to have security for her children. She had individuals showing up at their home, individuals following their kids to school. I mean, it was just the amount of attention after the Freddie Gray uprising and all the aftermath from that. It's when you're a public servant trying to undo decades of just policies that are racist and that just really keep a certain community down. I mean, you're going to piss off a lot of people. And so, I don't know how this young couple have been able to stomach everything that they've been through. Like I said, they have made mistakes, which is why she was convicted. When you have a magnifying glass during the pandemic and you're a human being trying to, do the best for your city, something's going to come up. And if she followed, I'm not a real estate person. And Casey, you have a title company. When it comes to housing and lending and mortgages, et cetera, there are products that exist out there that people with other degrees can better explain than I can, but things that you would never realize that are legal. And so many people can get away with it. But when it happens to a public servant that's really trying to make a change, they really want to make an example of it.
It is a shame that she got caught up, but frankly, she did err. At least the court has found that she erred, and I assume she was going to appeal her conviction. But right now, it appears that she skated outside the lines a little bit. But I want to talk about the political ramifications. I'm not sure whether the divorce of Marilyn and Nick were, related to the criminal case that was filed against Mrs. Mosby, but they've now divorced. Mr. Mosby, Nick Mosby, is announced for re-election. He'll be running again for re-election this year in November. So is there going to be any negative fallout and consequences towards him? He wasn't charged in the case, towards him, as a result of this conviction. Laurie, I'll give you the first word, and then Maricé, we got about a minute each for
what a mess. I'm just saying, what a mess they both got themselves into. And Marilyn was making $250,000 a year. I'm not sure how much Nick was making as president of the council in Baltimore. But my gosh, like, there aren't that many couples that make that much money, and they couldn't manage their finances, and they were lying to the public. That's the big thing. I mean, Nick was falsely claiming thousands of dollars as charitable deductions on his tax forms, and he lied to the public about tax liens on his mortgage. And he committed tax fraud. So
you think there's going to be fallout that affect him?
I don't know. Maybe they cut a deal or something like that. But maybe that.
Well, the
ship
voters
has
are going to
stopped on
have a
that.
decision.
But
He wasn't
I just feel
charged.
like, why do they keep electing some? Now that they know this about him, are they going to re-elect him? And he seems like a well-meaning guy. I watched him on an interview yesterday. I think his heart
Laurie,
is.
I'm going to have to wrap. You're going to have to wrap it up because I need Maricé to get in here for
Okay.
the last word.
I
Maricé.
was just going to say that this is in the context of a presidential candidate that just yesterday, well, his counsel was heard in front of the Supreme Court, where in reality, if you have the means to get counsel that is, that most people cannot afford, then you can get away with it. Marilyn Mosby had a public defender. You have to qualify for that. Now, again, I'm not saying that, for any reason that what she did was correct. I'm just saying that, when society wants to make an example out of certain people, they can pick and choose. And that is a discretion that our prosecutors have. But I would say, Nick and Marilyn are both very much loved by their city. And, at this point, I don't know why the prosecutors only went after Marilyn. Again, woman of color.
Well,
Nick had something to do with it.
They're not, the decision by the prosecutor, they're all Democrats. This is not a political prosecution, I don't think. So I think we have to look at it that they were looking to enforce something about public corruption.